I don't have a ton of journalistic integrity, so that's okay. When I'm hearing him react this way and then go on and on and on about it, it just nonstop, and just like laying it on thicker and thicker, I think of the old phrase, doth protest too much. It's funny that, he and Pasternak were both asked about it. They're both like, oh, no, you're close to the truth.
So Rich Keefe responded, and I could make this a 2-3 minute video, probably gets more clicks, but I want to kind of watch the whole video of his response to Marchand's response, calling his report a bunch of BS. So, if you like these videos, let me know. Like, comment, all that good stuff. Let's get right into it. What did Mr. Keefe have to say when he called in?
And Richard Keefe, I appreciate you joining us right now. What was your reaction to watching Brad Marchand's comments questioning not just your story, but I would say your journalistic integrity?
I don't have a ton of journalistic integrity, so that's okay. However,
That's not a great start right there. Big old swing and a miss there for me. Keep it running.
I was a little worried that maybe our bosses heard him and said, yeah, we should fire him because of this. I was like, wait a minute, Brad. Hold the phone on this. Trying to have a nice little Friday into the weekend, and this guy's calling for my job. But you just read my tweet. That's really kind of how I felt. I was like, I stand by this, and we can get into the reasons why, maybe because I've never been wrong when it comes to a Bruins story. However, when I'm hearing him react this way and then go on and on and on about it, it just nonstop, and just like laying it on thicker and thicker, I think of the old phrase, doth protest too much.
Yeah.
This guy has never been punched in the mouth before. Really? Because he comes out and Marchand calls out this report as being fraudulent and not truthful. That gives you confirmation. And I saw something funny in a comment. So does that mean if someone says that Rich Keefe, fucks kids, and he complains about it and denies it, that he means he fucks kids? Like, come on, guy. That line of thinking is idiotic. But hey, it's typical WEEI trash. Should I be surprised?
And I feel like you're doing too much, Brad. Like if it was a non-story, you would just laugh out, like literally laugh at it, and move on to the next question.
Especially, and sorry to step on you, I know you have a very important question, Fitzy, ready to roll here, but especially with no disrespect, you're Rich Keefe. You're a radio guy. I mean, hell, half the hockey world.
Well, they got to pay their ads somehow, and I'm not paying for YouTube Premium on this.
Disrespectfully ignores your reports as it is. They don't even cite them, and yet he was very passionate. I'm with you. The protest is a bit too much. I also don't care for, he's been compared to Trump on the text line because Trump is one who likes to call for people to be fired when they say stuff or do stuff wrong.
You cannot be serious right now. You're comparing Brad Marchand to Trump. You have to be out of your fucking gourd to make that comparison. And I'm not making a political commentary here. Y'all can argue about that in the comment sections. This is not a political channel. But we all know when you say something like that, especially in the Northeast region, which is heavily liberal, that is a negative connotation you're putting on Marchand. Of course he's going to call for your job because the report was fake. I mean, if the two individuals have come out and said the report is a bunch of BS, who am I going to believe? The two human beings living the experience? Or some fucking joke of a reporter on a failing radio station? I don't know. You let me know.
Yes.
And it was a bit of an overreaction. Are you mad at Brad Marchand?
I'm not mad at Brad Marchand. I'm not mad at him. I just think he's doing a lot here, and it's funny that he and Pasternak were both asked about it. They're both like, "Oh no, you're close to the truth," and then the team tweets out a photo of the two of them, and they're like looking forward, and you're like, "No, there's a problem.
Yeah.
You guys are playing horribly. it's very clear, I think, and I just think Brad Marchand has reached kind of his boiling point, and he.
Okay, but report, sources, where did you get this? Where did you get inculation? Was there teammates that came out to? Was there somebody on the staff that come out? Where are your sources for this type of report? If you are going to stand 10 toes on this report, bring me some actual sources, not just make it up in my head or imagine land, because it just seems like you're pulling out of your ass. Teammates can disagree and even argue and not like each other for a day or two if something gets a little bit, testy. They're on a losing streak. Sure, things aren't probably perfect, but give me the source to show that there's this massive divide that Pastrnak would not play with Marchand, which at points in this season he's played with Brad Marchand. So give me a goddamn source to verify this, but he can't.
He thought he could deal with some of this privately, and that wasn't going great. And now all of a sudden he has to also deal with it publicly, and he's like, for the love of God. And then, I end up being the guy. I end up being the whipping boy here. I'm the one he kind of attacks.
Rich, have you?
Okay.
You're a big guy. You got thick skin. You work in Market 10 middays. You even had your own night show for a while, by the way.
I did.
Congrats
for a bit,
on
yes.
that.
Congrats on that.
That was
show.
great.
Thank
that
you
was
very
huge.
much. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but had you heard prior to this confirmation from your source that led you to feel comfortable enough to go to air with it today, had there been intimations of any dysfunction, devolving relationships, or things that would obviously lead to something as significant as what you spoke to today?
Not really, other than the whole coaching fiasco. And not to point this out, but I had Jim Montgomery getting fired before anybody else did. But like around then, it was sort of like there's clearly issues with the team.
So any type of inclination that this guy is, it's weird because he complained about Marchand protesting too much. Ooh, doth protest too much. This guy is really trying to validify, like, oh, well, I did this right. I was right on this. I was right on this. He seems a little bit kind of rattled here.
And then he ended up being the scapegoat. Like, he ended up being the in-season Gerard Mayo of this situation. And then things got better for a minute, but they were really just playing worse teams. And then things have kind of fallen apart a little bit, and everybody's pointing fingers as to what's going on. And I just think even on the ice, there's enough evidence that this is true. Everybody across the board is.
So because things aren't going smoothly on the ice because they're struggling offensively, this is a good inclination that this report of Marchand and Pastrnak beefing is true? Really? I don't know about that.
Underperforming. Like, the best players aren't as good as they normally are. The middle of the road guys are way underachieving, and that's why after last night's loss, I mean, they're outside of the top 3 in the division now, and like in risk of missing the playoffs, which is kind of a tough thing to do when you have as much talent as they have. So, yeah, I didn't really been like following this too closely. I hadn't really heard a whole lot Bruins related after the Montgomery firing, and then this sort of fell in my lap even before last night's game. And then here you go. It's more evidence, I feel like, on the ice.
Rich, I thank you for pointing me in the right direction. I had not seen the tweet from the official Bruins that they put out with close-up photos of Pasta and Marchand next to each other, smiling, stretching in another one, smiling. It is pretty impressive, the reaction you have gotten from the captain of the Boston Bruins, their social media team. This reminds me of, do you remember, and
I don't understand how they're so amazed by the response they're getting. Keefe, while in my opinion a joke, he is in the local market. He's on WEI. Yes, a failing radio station, but still a radio station that's a Boston sports talk radio. Why wouldn't they respond? And of course, Marchand and Pastrnak would take the piss out of the situation. Wouldn't that just kind of make sense? I mean, have you seen Twitter? Of course there's going to be some subtle jads there to the ridiculous report that was released. It's just, I wish these two guys on this show right here, a little bit more pushback here.
I don't remember the details, but something happened with the Patriots where
Discover recipes our registered dietitians love.
I'd rather
like
watch an
baked
ad
curry
than-
spiced cod with peppers.
Gronk and Edelman were like hurt or something, and something was going on. And then all of a sudden, during the 8 minutes the media's allowed at practice, they were stretching together and like high-fiving each other, looking right at the cameras.
Yeah.
This is quite a PR spin they are putting forth.
Oh my God.
You should be proud of the reaction I feel like you've gotten out of a Bruins team. If they attacked their on ice weaknesses and problems the way they've attacked you, they might win some games. You never know.
I know they got everybody against me, and that's fine. And I said before I even knew the response, and we just read a couple quotes before the Marchand after practice 4-minute rant about how he shouldn't have a job.
So I don't even know if he really watched the Marchand rant. I mean, he was relatively calm, and I thought he carried himself in he had some chirps, but God, this is one of the reasons why I don't listen to WEI. It's not good radio. I mean, yeah, they're trying to get some attention. I could understand that. Get the eyes on their station. I mean, that video with Pasternak got a lot more views than their usual content does. That's, maybe around 1,000 views or less. That particular scoop video has near 5,000 views. Sure. I guess you can get some traction that way, but I just, man, who misses journalistic integrity? I know I do.
I said to Jones, I was like, maybe this will bring them closer together. Maybe this will actually be the reason. There was a point in the season we thought all was lost, and then we decided to do this versus Rich Keefe. And then at that point, we were able to turn it back into a good team.
Best friends that anybody could have.
And I want to mention this quick. I'm just going to say this. The Bruins media team has been known to go at TV personalities, radio personalities have said negative things about them. Like when the Bruins were on a deep Stanley Cup run, I think, was it 2017, right? When they were on a deep run against 19, I should say. When they've been on a couple deep runs, they've even had some promotions kind of taking some digs at Mike Felger when Felger had some negative things to say about the Bruins throughout the season. And then when you go to the, in person actually watch the games, which Keefe doesn't seem like he does, they'd kind of take the piss out of it. And Mike Felger even's like, oh, whatever. I'm the bad guy. It is what it is. It's just, Keefe, you are nobody special. This is what the social media age has done. I mean, even before that, the players are going to have fun with it. The media team's going to have fun with it, of course, because you are going out here and having false and fake reports that both players deny even taking place. So who are you going to trust? Some guy on a failing radio station or the two individuals actually with the quote-unquote feud? I don't know. I'll believe Marchand and Pasternak.
We're the three best friends that anyone could have.
That would be a great feather in your cap if the Bruins turn it around, they win the Stanley Cup, and we point to this as the impetus.
This is the Rich.
Awesome.
This is the nadir of their season, and you are the rallying cry. You have lit the fire that is going to stoke the flames of their turnaround.
Or they trade Marchand.
Yeah,
We find out oh my God, it's even worse than he said.
Or 63 is out of here. Well, remember, it was the middle of January. I want to say now 6 years ago, where the St. Louis Blues were hitting rock bottom. They all went out and did karaoke, sang Gloria. It became a rally cry. They turned around and won the Stanley Cup. So,
fire Rich Keefe. That's the rallying cry.
Fire Rich Keefe.
Oh, come on. No,
This
no,
is-
I got kids.
No, I was pretending I was the Bruins.
This is
But fire
hard
Rich
to
Keefe.
listen.
If that's how they join forces, then
Maybe you'll get a ring.
I'll take one.
You don't have a house
that'd be
anymore,
nice.
but you'll have a ring.
You'll be on
I see my
skit.
family with a ring.
You'll
can
be
I?
on skit. Well, it depends.
Ty Law
Some of
said
those-
that
Some of
famously.
those rings you can actually. They're pretty nice as well.
No, that's true.
So, but nobody else. So, just Marchand has responded to it because I saw there were a whole bunch of other Bruins meeting with the media afterwards against the beautiful backdrop of the white cylinder blocks.
Yeah, it is a nice setting over there.
Really, it's beautiful.
Honestly, they should be happy that we're just talking about them in general. I mean, they've been horrible.
This is almost a good distraction in a lot of ways, Rich, because they got smoked again last night.
I just... Okay, I mean, listen, I'm going to call it on that. This is just a bunch of mindless dribble by just mindless dribble. So what did I gain from this interview? I mean, besides wanting to blow my freaking brains out from listening to it, not much. Just Keefe seems like a very self-important human being, and then you have those two guys, and I think that's Fitzy GFY on YouTube. I think it's his channel. Fitzy, I like some of his skits. I'm not trying to speak negatively. Like, my God, I know it's radio and you're gonna have these like talking panels, but like, can you get the guy's dick out of your mouth for a minute? Like, come on. And he didn't really name a source. And one of his inclinations of the being true was the poor play. And I'm going to say this because I'm going to have to. Anyone that thought the Bruins were going to be able to maintain what they did last season did not understand the roster that they had on ice. Well, they have a talented roster. They should be better than they are. I'm like, yeah, maybe a playoff bubble team. But outside of Pasternak and Marchand, who has exceeded my expectation this season after coming back from multiple surgeries, this roster's solid, but not amazing. It's not a Stanley Cup favorite. They have a lot of holes in the roster. Sure, you're expecting Elias Lindholm to give you more. Absolutely. But even with the Zadorov training, if you actually watch the sport of hockey, I mean, Zadorov is a solid defenseman in his own right. I think they overpaid for him a bit, but this wasn't like Bobby Orr. This wasn't like the Avalanche getting Ray Bourque from the Bruins, right? And like, this was a solid defenseman. And Lindholm, if you followed his career, is a very adequate center. But is he a superstar? No. The Bruins still had holes on this roster. There's a roster that is full of third-line talent. That's not to knock them. I think they've done fantastic the last couple years, exceeding a lot of expectations. But if you thought that the Bruins were just going to run it back and have the same amount of success they did last year, you lose Olmark, you lose some pieces in the offseason, then you just don't know hockey. Now, do I see a 6-game losing streak coming this season? I mean, hopefully I was hoping that not to happen, but again, this team doesn't have a lot of offensive firepower. It just doesn't. And the defensemen they have are solid, but they're not point producers like crazy back there. They're missing Hampus Lindholm, who's been out for a bit, and people are hoping he comes back, but the more Keefe just talked, he just seems like one of those tabloid TMZ type reporters. I'm not even gonna call reporters. Parasites that will say or report anything that gets them clicks. Because who was his source? Some jackass on Twitter? Come on. I don't know. Those are my closing thoughts. Rich Keefe remains a joke. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What did you think of this rebuttal by Rich Keefe? I'll see you in the next one.